Morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming here. We're going through another episode in the Salesforce MVP series. For today, we will actually have another MVP named Loughhead. He is the CEO of Orcery, and he'll be talking about customer relationship marketing automation. So just to introduce myself, I'm Joey Chan. I'm founder of Contextual Solutions. I'll be hosting this event, and then I'll let Ty take it away from here.
All right, great. Thank you, Joey. And I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here to kick things off. And let me know if everyone can see my screen here.
Yes, we can
give
see.
me a thumbs up. All right, awesome. So yeah, I want to welcome everyone here, and I'm really excited to be here today. And I am here to talk about how modern marketing really requires customer context. And that's something that can only really be delivered using data extrapolated from a CRM. Essentially, we can use a CRM to provide context to make more powerful marketing email. And context is really modern marketing. And I'm going to show you a couple ways that I've used marketing automation to deliver that context using Salesforce Pardot. So one of my favorite writers in the space is a guy by the name of Matthew Sweezy, and he put out a book last year called The Content Marketing Revolution. And if you're interested in this topic, I highly recommend checking it out. Matthew is the director of market strategy at Salesforce, and he's also a partner at Salesforce Futures Lab. His podcast is available free online. I think it's called Context Marketing in the Infinite Media World. But he talks a lot about this idea that the nature of marketing itself is really changing. And this quote, motivating customers has nothing to do with getting their attention and everything to do with understanding their context. And that is their current position in time and space and whatever their task may be in the moment. Today, helping people achieve their immediate goals is the only way to break through that noise and motivate consumers to act. Simply put, people don't need more things trying to grab their attention. They need solutions to their problem. And I think as marketers, people fall into this trap of trying to create more noise. This tactic no longer works. Instead, the context marketing involves meeting people where they actually are, rather than trying to attract their attention by fulfilling their expectations at a particular moment. And so the age of mass marketing is really over. Repetition and exposure aren't enough. Businesses that don't solve people's challenges and can't speak individually to their potential customers, to their interests, to what their pain points are, and deliver messaging in context with that experience are really going to be left behind. Context must be delivered personally at the right time with content that actually addresses a customer's needs. And this process needs to be replicable to scale to succeed in B2B business. So I want to take a second and set the stage about the martech landscape. It's incredibly crowded, and marketers find it really challenging to develop first-party measurement and generate that customer context. How do you integrate numerous different KPIs, separate platforms, to reconcile incomplete or overlapping data sets? And to make matters worse, the number of tools has really increased drastically. And this is really a much bigger challenge for marketers than maybe Salesforce admins, who can download an application integration via AppExchange or connect to different platforms via MuleSoft. In marketing, there's really no first-party measurement tool for Salesforce. And more and more marketers are scrambling to get data legally and ethically. Cookies are going away, at least third-party cookies. Email opens can't be tracked on new iPhones. Targeting on any third-party platform is getting more and more challenging for non-owned platforms. And if you think that privacy is going to become less of a concern over the next couple of years, I think that you're probably not paying attention to what is happening. And this is why I love Salesforce and Salesforce Pardot. You own the single source of truth, and it really has the potential to store all of our customer data points. And arguably, like I was talking about before, I'm agnostic to technology. This could be any platform that integrates with other tools in your technology stack. But if your entire organization utilizes this platform as a source of record, Salesforce, in this example, is just about the best customer relationship management platform out there. It's extensible to so many different cloud technologies out of the box or through integration. And if you layer on Pardot, and Pardot is really just about the best in class marketing automation tool, you're creating an ecosystem tracking buyer behavior throughout the customer lifecycle, allowing you to iteratively develop a better data set, which you can then use to deliver more contextual marketing. And I love that phrase, an iteratively better data set. Pardot syncs customer behavior not only from email, which Pardot will be a primary email tool, but also from web activity, from social media, from PPC ads, and really any digitally measurable channel you use it for, allowing you to build a more robust data set, iteratively segment based on customer feedback or sales activity, and create this virtuous feedback loop where your marketing team is learning and adapting on the fly based on real-time customer input. And marketing can deliver better experiences that become more and more contextual. And to tell you some stories and share some strategies that I've seen to deliver effective marketing, I'm going to talk about using Salesforce Pardot and using marketing automation to deliver journeys that are far more powerful than using a simple email sending platform, and how Pardot specifically solves for this context conundrum using this CRMA ecosystem, customer relationships in our marketing automation. So before we dive into those examples, I want to give a little intro to myself. I've been in the digital marketing ecosystem for almost 15 years. And while a lot has definitely changed, a lot has probably remained very much the same. I spent about 5 years helping build out a digital advertising agency here in New York City, another 5 years running a marketing team in-house. And along that time, I was tasked with generating leads and retaining customer data, and then using that information to enrich a CRM and deliver customer journeys using marketing automation. For the past couple of years, I have run my own martech consultancy, Forcery, as Joey said, and we really help firms with digital transformation and marketing technology infrastructure. We are a registered Salesforce consulting partner, a Google Ads partner. I'm certified in Sales Cloud, Marketing Cloud as a Pardot consultant, but my real core competency is in Pardot marketing automation. I've also been very lucky to be a Salesforce MVP for the past 4 years. And one of the really cool things that I've been able to do is to beta test and talk about a bunch of cool Salesforce and Pardot features, like helping Salesforce bring Engagement Studio to market. Pardot's drip campaign builder we'll be talking about in a little bit. I've also talked about launching Salesforce Lightning and a bunch of Salesforce's Einstein features, like the lead score, behavior score, Salesforce inbox, and activity capture. I run the New York Marketing Trailblazer community. We call ourselves the Pardot user group. And if you're interested in following us on Twitter or joining our group, you're welcome to check us out. I've thrown a bit.ly link up on the screen there. You are welcome to join, even if you're not located in New York City. And I also run a very large community here in New York City of Italian motorcycle riders, about 600 riders or so, as motorcycling is really my biggest passion outside of marketing, which I'm happy to talk about offline. Lastly, I mentor within the Salesforce community, as well as a bunch of early to mid-stage startups learning how to use Salesforce for the first time with a program called Growth Mentors. And I've been in this industry for a while now, but the world of marketing is really, really changing. And a modern marketer must continually adapt and really make optimization itself a key component of your own profession. And one of those things, I started my career, again, we're going back like almost 15 years ago, that I'm going to start talking about is just sort of the nature of email that's used in marketing automation. And when I think back to the early days, maybe the early 2000s, I probably got something like 100th of the email that I get today. And over that time span in marketing, I've heard continual doomsday predictions that email is dead, and talking about the death of email. Social media was supposed to supplant marketing email, making your inbox far less relevant than a Facebook feed or an Instagram feed. Texting, SMS, and conversational marketing was supposed to take a bite out of email, and then artificial intelligence and chatbots. And I've kept track of what different technology publications and subject matter experts have claimed nearly every year, because it's kind of interesting and personally amusing. The email is actually dying off as a channel, and almost every single year, yet another reputable publication and real business leaders have claimed that the age of email is over. And I just have a couple examples here. 2009 PC Mag said that email is dead. In 2010, Mark Zuckerberg famously predicted the end of email, said that email would no longer be used, and that caused reverberations throughout the technology community. 2012, Harvard Business School did a really robust study that found communications between individuals and businesses. Email was not even the top 5 activities of how businesses were communicating with individuals, or vice versa. 2013, Marketo did a study where they found that of any queries in Google, email is dead was one of the most searched search terms based on Google's own search volume. 2014, Britain's largest paper said that email was dead for students. And it just goes on. PC Mag again in 2015, email is dead. Forrester Research in 2017 put out a study saying that chatbots and artificial intelligence were finally going to render email irrelevant. 2018, Inc. magazine again claimed that young people don't use email anymore. And if you don't know that, you are kind of a dinosaur yourself. And most recently, and this is something that I've heard from Salesforce, they're really intent on pushing this line because of the acquisition of Slack, but that Slack's going to replace internal emailing, external emailing, support emailing, and even marketing and sales email. And obviously, email is not dead. Here are 2 articles from the Wall Street Journal, 10 years apart, initially claiming the demise of email as a marketing channel, and then a decade later, claiming that email is somehow this hot new marketing channel. The responses to not investing in email, and I'm going to quote that Harvard Business Review article, is that email is not dead, it's simply evolving. And its evolution requires business who use email to deliver context to their consumers. The modern consumer expects, just as a matter of course, to be delivered email that is contextually relevant to them. And email in opposition to all of these experts, claiming its death, has actually grown. There are 4 billion email users in the world, sending 300 billion emails per day. The most important stat on this slide is that email is actually still growing, and experts are predicting that there will be more email users and more emails sent until at least 2024. And every couple of years, there's another little furore about some other marketing platform destined to take over our attention. And I remember when Snapchat was gonna, be the next B2B platform, when every company was gonna have, its own products and services delivered via its own Facebook page. Chatbots were gonna completely take over. And even Slack. I used to go to the Slack developer meetup here in New York City, and there was a presentation a couple of years ago where someone was delivering something on information security, a presentation. I said something rather remarkable in that, like, Slack is not really any kind of new tool. It's not all that different than IRC or chat rooms of the 90s. And throughout this entire lifespan of different marketing channels, and in the face of various different marketing fads, email has become more and more important to B2B marketing. Overall, the volume hasn't diminished, it's actually increased, and Adobe found that email is actually trusted more than any other channel in marketing, by a factor of like 3 to 1 by consumers. And this isn't just the dinosaurs, the older people in marketing. It's younger people that are using email, and especially in B2B, the expectation now is that email requires business to translate their understanding of their clients' needs and how they change over time, using information that they have stored about their customers to deliver resonant contextual marketing. Modern marketing requires the context about your consumers, and that's something that can only really be delivered via your CRM. You may store search queries from your ads, or events from analytics, topics of interest from your website, next to demographic data from your social media platforms. But all these data sources must be tied back to a single source of truth to use them in marketing. And this is what Pardot can do: derive information and data about customers alongside sales activity and the sales activity's ongoing relationship with that person, and use all that information in marketing automation and email. And to show you this, I'm going to share some stories and strategies that I've seen to deliver effective contextual marketing using my favorite tool, Salesforce Pardot. So I'm going to show you some ways to use context in marketing email. All these examples are going to be using Pardot, but again, like relatively agnostic to technology. And you could try these methods with any platform as long as you have a single source of data to be able to deliver personal and timely, relevant email at scale. So I'm going to start off with an easy one. I'm sure we've all gotten an email that said something like "Hi, first name," and this is typically because of bad data in your ESP or your CRM. Now, you can be very careful about your data and have a single source of truth, which I definitely recommend. We can also use a Salesforce tool called Handlebars Merge Language, or HML. And if you use HML, and I'm going to show an example of the syntax of this markup language, you can use personalization to insert dynamic fields from your database, addressing a consumer directly. So in this example, we're using first name, but you can also build out conditional logic statements. In this example, we have the recipient's first name. If we have their first name, we'll say something like "Hi, Bob." Otherwise, we'll say "Hello." And we can ensure that we're personalizing our email, but we're never sending out, a communication that fails at that personalization. Context also completely begins with segmentation, but the first question that marketers need to ask is, how is the information getting into our database in the first place? Buying lists, relying on third-party data enrichment tools or data vendors is becoming more and more risky, and perhaps more importantly, it's becoming unsuccessful as a marketing process. We can rely on sales teams to supply some of customer information, but how can we have replicable processes whereby marketing efforts are actually contributing to CRM data? And the answer is, as I'm sure you know, going to be marketing automation. And actually, several studies have shown that lead generation is just about at the top of the list in terms of the perceived benefit of a marketing automation tool, not email. And when we talk about lead generation, we're talking about that conversion point between unknown interest and a known lead, and getting a contact's information and customer details into our CRM. So not only their email address, but customer attributes as well. And Communicator and Smart Insights did a study back in 2019 that found that generating more leads was just up at the top of the biggest benefits that companies were seeing in choosing a marketing automation tool. GetResponse did a similar study, and lead gen is almost all the way up at the top, above some of the other more nuanced features of emailing and targeting and other feature benefits of a marketing automation tool. So I'm going to talk about another real life example of one of the industrial design companies I work with, and they're currently generating business inquiries on their website using this form on the left here. The form on their website takes 2 clicks to get to from the home page. It requires 8 different fields, ranging from drop downs at the top to short and long text areas. And this is hardly the worst form I've ever seen, but it's not a great customer experience. The experience itself is kind of tedious. The information requires thought, and it's contextual to the business and not really to my needs. There's information on here that maybe I don't necessarily want to volunteer yet. This form is really about the business. It's not about my needs. And as a potential consumer, I'm not really sure I'd want to fill out this form. So as a solution, we instead built a Pardot landing page and sent advertising traffic directly to the landing page on the right-hand side with only 4 fields. And in fact, if someone came back to the form again, we would collapse these initial 4 fields and instead use a Pardot tool called progressive profiling, asking for different information progressively over time. The next time someone comes back to this form, we're not going to ask for their company anymore. We're not going to make them fill out all of these fields. We're going to ask for their job title instead, getting more information, personalizing that experience with a prospective customer that we're working with over time. And this personalized the journey with the form. After running this campaign for 2 months, our bounce rate on this form was 1/3 of the bounce rate of the original standalone website contact form. Another challenge that I've touched on very briefly is marketing data silos. I've run into this my entire career, but we're talking about the different proliferation of marketing channels. We're really presented with a huge challenge when there are different KPIs and different customer attributes in different places. Maybe we're using Google Analytics to track on-site search queries, marketing referral channels, or even like the topics that someone may be interested, by viewing certain areas on our blog. Maybe we have demographic or affinity data stored in a social platform. And I still haven't figured out a way to pull in lookalike audiences or similarities campaigns into Salesforce. Maybe we're using a separate ESP tool to send email, but that customer engagement, it begins and ends at the email open and click. And the context about that email recipient is limited to that particular platform. And the issue here is that different systems don't speak the same language, and they really don't want to. Google wants everything to be anonymized because they already control a lot of customer information. Social media is incentivized to keep you on platform and spend your advertising dollars only on that platform. And the way to bring all this data back through your website can be using Pardot forms and landing pages using something called UTM variables. So I help run marketing infrastructure for a women's health brand, and we're trying to bring back marketing data like keyword queries and the type of campaigns that are ultimately driving inquiries to our website, and be able to track those attributes all the way till the patient sees a doctor and completes a procedure, and an opportunity is won in Salesforce. And the way we can do that is align all of our marketing campaigns, appending them with UTM parameters. I'm sure everyone has seen, www.website.com $UTM variable, where we're defining a source, a campaign, a medium, maybe a term, or a content piece, and bring those customer attributes back into our CRM. And Pardot can be used, Pardot forms can be configured to capture UTM parameters. And this can be a standardizing methodology for all digital engagement. Instead of just relying on Google Analytics, but actually patching into Pardot's own tracking cookie, we could code our Pardot forms to track every single advertising channel and tag individuals with campaigns accordingly. And this can be everything from organic sources to referral sites to search engine marketing to social media. And what this does is this connects a patient's journey all the way from the first click all the way back to a deal, and providing our marketing team with the ability to deliver context to her experience along the way. There's a little custom coding to be done, but by adding a couple of hidden fields in Pardot, we have full visibility into our customer lifecycle, and we can access the standardized data in Salesforce. And as marketers make real-time changes on the fly, or look at the data from the top of the funnel down, or from the bottom funnel out, giving more context to our marketing and sales processes. The next personal experience that I want to talk about is segmentation and relevance, and the challenge that I dealt with in segmenting and providing messaging that was personally relevant a couple of years ago at a real estate tech firm where I was running the marketing team. And we actually use Pardot personalization tools to make a journey far more relevant to our recipients. So we were using Salesforce, and we had been using Pardot to send email, but we were limited in our distribution. We sent out a monthly newsletter basically to our entire database, and it wasn't particularly personalized except for from the individual agent who was sending out the listing alerts and our newsletter. And the actual content that we were serving was not really relevant and to individual agents' book of business. And I got complaints as we were servicing both luxury buyers not luxury buyers, renters of property, and a one-size-fits-all approach didn't really make anyone happy. It didn't deliver information that was really relevant to them that would potentially activate, our real estate database. And as I thought about this, I realized this isn't really a marketing problem. This is actually a data problem. And we could actually personalize customer outreach and make the data that we're presenting more relevant in a scalable way using data points that we had stored in our database. We used a Pardot personalization feature called dynamic content that pulled information from our CRM database to determine the buyer budget. And budget was one of the core values we store in Salesforce to serve different types of content to different types of consumers. As you can see up at the top in that gray box, by default, we'll render a typical set of listings within a specific budget range if we didn't have a buyer budget field value in our database, or if the budget that was entered was within a threshold, within a particular threshold. However, if the budget was very, very low, signifying that the prospect, the person was not a buyer at all, that they were a renter, we would render a specific block of properties within that price range that were actually rental apartments. Similarly, if our customers were that uber high-end luxury property, which there's only a small segment, we were delivering them the really high-end properties. And as a result of using this feature, using a single email newsletter, our marketing impact went through the roof, our click-through rates in our emails doubled, and even like cooler, our salespeople, they were actually incentivized to do data entry. And instead of crafting multiple different emails for multiple different segments, our marketing team was able to act in a more relevant and contextual way and use a measured approach to really optimize our efforts. So the last example I'm going to share is not a personal example, although I have spoken at length with the team who used Pardot to deliver relevant journeys to customers at scale. And the campaign I'm going to talk about is an 11-part email sequence from a company called Casper, a pretty modern mattress firm that has had a pretty meteoric rise over the past decade. They've spoken about marketing automation at a Salesforce World Tour, and I didn't come up with this, but someone had said that it takes a really like awesome marketing team to make mattresses seem very, very cool. And if their expansion is any indication of marketing impact, then that would signify that their marketing has actually been pretty effective. So using this example, we're going to be talking about like an 11-part nurture campaign to upsell mattresses and adjacent products to their customers. And full disclosure, I don't know if Casper is in fact still using Pardot marketing automation, but I'm going to share how they would build this out if they did. And you can see there's a sequence of 3 different emails. The first 6 emails are separated with wait steps of up to of 3 days piece, and we'll dive into the mechanics once we get to step 7. Before we do though, I want to introduce Engagement Studio. If you haven't used Engagement Studio before, it's Pardot's lead nurture engine, and it's a way to deliver really complex marketing sequences like the one I have on my screen here, and send emails and take other action, making decisions and taking action based on either something that someone does with our marketing, based on intervals of time, or based on criteria that we actually have in our database. And using Engagement Studio, we can deliver contextual journeys using 3 different elements. The basic building blocks of Engagement Studio are going to be actions, triggers, and rules. Actions tell the program to do something, such as send an email, whereas a trigger, I also call them listeners. Triggers listen for something to happen, like a click of a link or an open of an email. And rules instead are telling the system to actually check for something, like is a CRM value this, or is someone a member of a campaign or a list. And to show you how this actually works, I'm going to switch over and show a quick video from Trailhead, and I have a link to that Trailhead module if you're interested in finding out more. There's a link on this slide as well. So I'm going to switch over here and just play this. It's only about 2 minutes long, so I find it really interesting to show how these elements can be actually used in Engagement Studio.
By the way, you might need to share your computer sound. No, we don't hear any sound yet. Hey, Ty, I'm not sure if there's supposed to be a sound.
Can you guys not hear? Can you guys not hear? Sorry about that. Can you guys not hear this?
No. I think you have to share this computer sound. It's under the Zoom settings.
Gotcha. So let's see, there's more. I won't delay this just for, because I don't actually see where this is. Do you see the video?
Yes, we can see the video, but you have to manually, actually, you might have to stop sharing and then share the, there's going to be a checkbox in the lower left side.
Gotcha.
Telling you to share your computer sound.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna skip past this because I think seeing the actual decision tree and the flow is the most important thing that I wanted to share here. The talk track is not particularly important, but as you can see, there are triggers, actions, and rules here, which is what we would actually use to build a complex marketing cadence, some complex marketing journey to deliver context from a marketing campaign. And instead of actually trying to struggle with this AV here, I'm going to pull up the chat here and just type in the Trailhead module that you should check out to learn more about this yourself. So the real key here is that we can take action and deliver messaging while building out personalized branches of logic based on behavioral data or data that we store directly in our CRM. In this case, Casper could be using the send email action and then building out branching logic, evaluating if a purchase has been made using a rule in Engagement Studio, and then sending a survey and checking to see if the survey was completed or if an email was opened or clicked using a trigger. And in this way, Pardot can deliver staggered sequences of messages really personalized to customer needs at the right time and relevant to how they engage either with the brand or the campaign specifically, using data points that are stored in a CRM. Using the context that we have in our CRM to craft better marketing that's more relevant and timely to our consumers' needs, which in turn delivers customer insight and engagement, can enrich a CRM itself and start that whole loop over and over and over again. We talked about how we can use Handlebar's merge language and Pardot forms for personalization and how to enrich data points in our system. We talked about dynamic content, delivering more relevant content, and how we could deploy that content at scale using actions, triggers, and rules in Engagement Studio. I'm going to give another quote from Matthew Sweezy, who said that the role, the scope, and function of marketing is really shifting from the department that tells the world about the products you've created to the owners and sustainers of experiences all across the customer journey. He talks about how Tesla really kind of flipped this marketing model on its head. That most companies, they build a product and then they market it, whereas Tesla, they sold the product first and then delivered marketing in a contextual way with all these different touch points after a purchase is actually made. And this contextual journey is becoming more and more necessary in modern marketing. So thank you. I hope I have taught everyone just a little bit about Pardot and how Pardot really excels using context delivered from your CRM, how context is really the marketing methodology of the future. And I'm happy to chat about any of these tools or answer any questions that anyone may have about using Salesforce Pardot.
All right. Thank you again, Tigh. Really appreciate it. It's a big privilege. Let me stop sharing for now.